I grew up in a small town known as Thompson, Georgia. Growing up in this small town meant that I knew everyone and everyone knew me. My parents grew up here, and their parents grew up here. Growing up in this small town had its pros and cons. I absolutely believe that growing up here shaped me into the person I am today. I went to school with the same people from kindergarten until high school. I went to church with the same people from school. I participated in after-school extracurriculars with the same people, and I hung out with the same people on the weekends. Being surrounded by the same group of people your whole life means that you start thinking and acting the same. We were all raised and brought up the same way, raised by similar families, churches, and even raised by the teachers in our school. When thinking back to my old classrooms in this small town, one word that comes to mind is boring. The classrooms were painted white with rows and rows of desks. The teacher would stand in the front of the classroom and lecture, not necessarily teaching. We moved from one boring classroom to the next every day for several years. Occasionally, we would get a special teacher who would leave their mark on all of us. This teacher would have pictures and posters of bright, fun colors all in their classroom. This teacher would make you want to come to class and learn. This teacher would make their classroom feel like a safe place. This teacher would make you always feel welcomed in their classroom. In the future, I want to be this teacher. In my future classroom, I hope to have a classroom that is student learning based and focuses on student involvement and direction. I want my classroom to be problem solving based, and I want to teach students how to solve these problems correctly, not just how to solve them for a standardized test answer like I was taught. I want my students to be able to learn at their own pace to get the most out of their learning experiences. I know that all students are different, and this will be very helpful. In my classroom, students will have the ability to help pace the classroom. This will give my students a feeling of control within the classroom. In the classroom, there will be a lot of hands-on learning and collaborative learning. I want my students to be able to work together to increase engagement and collaboration between each other. When it comes to designing my future classroom, I have lots of ideas. I think the teaching community has become too concerned with having the most picture-perfect classroom. Teachers can sometimes get too caught up in having the most Pinterest aesthetic-looking room that they forget about the students. I want my students to help me decorate the classroom. Yes, it is my classroom, but it's also where the students have to spend 8 hours of their day. I want my classroom to be filled with student work. I want the walls to be filled with student work, and I want the students to see their work on display to help encourage and motivate them to keep working and learning.